Alright guys, today we're doing an unboxing and tabletop review of an Inglis P35. So it's a Browning high power clone. So this is the box it comes in. It's like a green plastic case. And open it up, we've got the Inglis P35 instruction manual. Put that aside. Here we've got the pistol in the box. Comes with two 15-round magazines. Take a look at those. Just you know, typical blue steel 15-round mags. This, of course, is a 9mm. It comes with a chamber flag and a trigger lock. And here's the pistol. Right here, we're going to make sure it's empty. So magazine is out. You can already see that. Rack the slide 3 times. Lock it to the rear. Take a look in the chamber. Empty. Magazine well's empty. Look away. Look again. Chamber is empty. Magazine well's empty. This firearm is completely empty. So we'll put the gun aside for a second and take a look at what else came in the box. So we've got just a soft bore brush and a cleaning rod that you could put patches in. It's just a super cheap plastic one. So I'm going to go ahead and put the box aside for the time being. So a little bit about this. It's a Browning high power clone. It's made in Turkey. It's all forged steel, nickel plated. It comes with walnut wood grips. Inglis is a brand. It was a manufacturer in Canada. They did a lot of the manufacture during World War II for creation of the Browning, designed high power pistol, or P35. And they actually were the first ones to use the term high power. So the P35 is a John Browning design from 1935, hence it's called the P35. And it's a single action 9mm pistol, 15 rounds currently. I believe the originals were 13-round magazines. I'll have to double check on that, but currently they're made with 15-round and 17-round magazines, depending on the manufacturer. So this one's made in Turkey. You can see that on the bottom of the frame here. It says made in Turkey. Serial number on the bottom of the slide. And then another serial number on the frame. It says Inglis, Knoxville, Tennessee. So the importer is actually Military Arms Corp, or Military Arms Company, MAC, and headquartered in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they do the importing for this. You can see, 9x19 marked on the chamber, indicating it is a 9mm. 9x19mm, 9mm Luger, 9mm Parabellum. It all pretty much means the same thing. What's desirable about this is it is based on that John Browning P35 high power design, which I've always really admired a lot. Reminiscent in some ways of the earlier John Browning, 1911 design. So you can see sort of the similarities. This one, again, made in Turkey. A lot of the firearms coming out of Turkey right now are excellent, good quality. This one really looks nice, especially for the price. It was under $400 from Palmetto State Armory. For the price, it's awesome. Really nice feel. It looks good. It feels good. It's pretty tight. You don't want your gun to be too tight or it won't reliably function. But, this is pretty nice. The finish looks pretty good. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect finish, but it looks good. It's a nice satin nickel finish, so it's not real shiny. This one's got it's got a U-notch rear sight, so it's not a squared off sight. It's a U. I don't know if that's coming through very well in the video here. And then it has a fiber optic front sight. This one's green. I really like fiber optic sights. I think, they day glow basically. So especially if you're shooting outside in daylight, they're excellent. easy to pick up. So I think overall this is a really nice looking gun. I'm going to take it to the range tomorrow and shoot it. I'll take some video of that. So probably shoot a couple of 100 rounds through it of different types of ammo. See what the reliability is like, accuracy and everything. The trigger feels really good. Again, just double checking. It's empty. Yep. But the trigger feels very good. Very nice. Now, if you're not real familiar with a single action pistol, one of the things you want to know about it is if you're carrying it and you're carrying it cocked and locked, that's this configuration. This pistol does have an ambidextrous thumb safety, which is nice. So cocked and locked carry generally. If you're going to decock this gun and you've got a round in the chamber, something you really need to be careful of is when you're going to decock it, there's no decocking lever, so you have to manually decock it, okay? And it's a dangerous process, but you got to be extra careful, right? So you're holding the hammer with your thumb. You can also use your offside thumb just to block the firing pin area to make sure, just in case your other thumb slips, that you don't have an accidental discharge. And as soon as you depress the trigger and release the sear, you can let go of the trigger, and that way the hammer is never going to impact the firing pin, because it's only going to go down to this quarter cocked position. Because you'll notice, so this is like quarter cocked, you can put the safety on and everything, but you can't pull the trigger obviously because it's not cocked far enough. But from here, if you depress the trigger all the way and leave it pinned to the rear, when you go forward with the hammer, it is going to contact the firing pin, and you could get an accidental discharge in this type of scenario if you're impacting that firing pin. So again, as soon as the hammer starts coming forward, get your finger off the trigger, and that way your hammer's not going to be able to travel far enough forward to impact that firing pin. But decocking a single action pistol, you got to be really careful, or you're going to wind up having an accidental discharge or a negligent discharge. Couple other things about this design. So it's the original Browning P35s were blue steel, and they had a full spur hammer. This is a burr hammer on here, like a Colt Commander style burr hammer rather than the full spur hammer. So you got less likelihood of having that hammer bite the web of your hand, but it also gives you a little less purchase when you're trying to do something like decock the pistol. So yeah, tabletop review. It's a nice gun. I like it. I've always wanted to have a high power, but they're very expensive. So getting a clone of good quality kind of fills that void of having that P35 high power. So anyway, we're going to shoot it tomorrow and see how it shoots. We'll also do disassembly of this firearm. So again, we're going to double check that it's empty, lock the slide of the rear, check the chamber physically and visually, inspect both the chamber and the magazine well, and then do it again just to make sure that your firearm is safe and empty. And now you'll see here, this is the notch that the thumb safety goes into when you're going to carry it cocked and locked. This is the disassembly notch. So you need to press the slide back just a little further, engage the safety into the disassembly notch, and then you'll be able to remove the slide catch, which also is the takedown lever or disassembly lever. So you can put that off to the side. Then hold on to your slide and release the safety from the disassembly notch, and the slide will slide right off. And then now you've separated the main components, so you've got your slide assembly and your frame. The frame or receiver of the firearm is the firearm by law. This portion, it's serialized. Now the barrel and the slide of a lot of semi-automatic firearms are also serialized, but this is the only portion of the firearm that is actually the firearm. This is firearms parts up here, okay? You need to fill out a 4473 to buy one of these. This is just parts. You can just buy that over the counter, or you could receive, you know, these components in the mail. This is where you need to have a FFL involved if you're buying a frame or receiver. So again, we'll go ahead and disassemble. Now make sure you make note of how the recoil spring guide rod sits up against the lug underneath this barrel here. Okay, make sure you make note of that configuration, because that's how it's got to go back in. But anyway, the recoil spring and the guide rod come out, barrel comes out, you've got the slide assembly, you know, taken apart for cleaning, lubrication, everything else. So these are the kind of major components. Most of the time the firearm doesn't need to be broken down any further than this for, you know, routine user care. Anyway, let's reassemble. So slide, barrel goes back in, recoil spring and guide rod go back in, and you see how it sits in here. Make sure everything is lined up. But again, you see the way that the rear part of that recoil spring lines up with the lug on the barrel. Frame can go back in now at this point. Re-engage the disassembly notch with the safety, and you can return the slide stop or slide catch in here, and then disengage the disassembly lever and make sure that everything works, right? Make sure that your slide doesn't fly off. Make sure your slide catch engages again. Everything seems to be working fine. Slide, make sure that the trigger still functions and the hammer still falls. So one of the things that's really nice, hopefully you guys will be able to see this, is how little extra travel there is on the trigger here. I'm up against the sear wall here already. So there's not a ton of take up, not a ton of slack between the trigger being fully forward and then trigger against the sear wall. So I'm against the sear wall here, so I'm right up against the point that will cause the hammer to fall. So there's not a lot of play in there and not much over travel, which is nice. Now watch here, I'll reset the sear and you guys can see how little extra movement there is to reset the sear. Sear's reset, and I'm right back up against the sear wall here. See that? Yeah. Sear's reset, back up against the sear wall. So that's, you know, for good combat type shooting, that's how you want to, what you don't want to do is after each shot, let your finger completely off the trigger. It's totally wasted energy, and it also adds, it imparts extra movement to the gun, right? So you fire, this is all you want to do to reset that trigger. Okay, anyway, basically I really like this this firearm, this Inglis P35N. Looks like good quality. Looking forward to getting it out on the range, so we'll do some video of actually shooting this sucker, and you know, then we'll complete the video and have some idea of the reliability and accuracy, you know, other important factors, you know, handling and everything else with this classic design